Ang hindi marunong lumingon sa pinanggalingan ay hindi makakarating sa paroroonan. He who doesn't know how to look back at where he came from will never reach his destination. Mga katagang sinabi ni Jose Rizal sa kanyang nobelang El Filibusterismo. Isa ito sa mga pinakapamosong linya ni Rizal. And yet, many Filipinos today seem to have forgotten its meaning. May mga itatanong ako sa inyo. No? Why does history matter? It's just a collection of facts, names, and dates. Tama? Or is it something more? No? Meron pa ba na sa history? No, mahalaga ba ito? History is not just the past. It is the foundation of our present and the blueprint of our future. Dr. Jose Rizal understood this more than anyone. Hindi lang siya nagsulat ng history. Ginamit niya ang history bilang isang sandata para ma-awaken ang Filipino spirit. Today, we're going to explore Rizal's tripartite view of history. His division of Philippine history into 3 epochs. Number 1, the pre-colonial era. Sinasabing the golden age of Filipino identity. Number 2, the colonial era. The age na nagkaroon ng oppression and struggle. And third one, the future. Hope and liberation. And by the end of this lesson, I want you to answer this one question. Sorry mga kaibigan. Maling tanong pala yun. So ito na, seryoso. Are we, as Filipinos, fulfilling Rizal's vision for our future? Yung pinangarap ba ni Rizal ay ginagawa natin, tinatamasa ba natin? Ano ba yung ginagawa natin bilang mga Pilipino para gawin yung mga yung mga habilin, yung mga hopes ni Rizal para sa bayan natin? No? Now, magsisimula na ba tayo?
Shall we begin?
Colonial era, a golden age of freedom and identity. Imagine a time before the Spaniards arrive. No friars, no colonial officials, no Spanish rule. What do you see? Some of you might imagine primitive huts, people in loincloths, a lack of civilization. That's what the Spaniards wanted us to believe. But let's set the record straight. Did you know that before Spain came, Filipinos were already an advanced civilization? Did you know we had our own systems of government, trade, and education? According to Rizal's annotations on Antonio de Morga's Sucesos de las Islas Filipinas, the pre-colonial Philippines was a hub of international trade. We traded with China, India, and Arabia. Gold, silk, and spices flowed through our ports. For example, the Pangasinenses were known for their salt and gold, while the Ilocanos were skilled weavers and traders of abel cloth. We are politically sophisticated. Barangays have structured leadership under a datu. There were councils of elders called Maginoo and warriors called Timawa. In Pangasinan, the Pangulo system emphasizes communal welfare and leadership. At syempre, Isa tayong society na nagre-respeto sa kababaihan. Women could inherit property, become rulers, and serve as babaylans or spiritual leaders. For instance, Princess Orduha of Pangasinan was a legendary warrior queen who symbolized female empowerment. Yet, when the Spaniards arrived, they erased this history and portrayed Filipinos as ignorant savages who needed Spanish rule.
You think I'm an ignorant savage, and you've been so many places, I guess it must be so. But still I cannot see if the savage one is me. How can there be so much that you don't know?
This is what we call colonial brainwashing. A blatant form of colonial brainwashing or cultural erasure done by the Spaniards is the conversion of indigenous Philippine deities, spirits, and supernatural beings into negative or evil gestures. This process was part of a broader strategy of religious indoctrination, cultural suppression, and ideological control implemented by Spanish colonizers to establish Christianity as a dominant belief system in the Philippines. Before Spanish colonization, the Philippines had a diverse spiritual landscape with animismo, with polytheistic traditions. These deities and spirits were central to pre-colonial belief system. And they were not inherently good or evil, Rather, they embody various aspects of nature, human experiences, and the supernatural. For example, here is the term Yawa, derived from the Visayan word meaning devil in modern usage. It was originally a term related to spirits that were neither purely malevolent nor benevolent. Pero ngayon, parang ginagawa na mura, anak ka ng Yawa. Other pre-colonial deities such as Bakunawa, a serpent-like dragon associated with eclipse, and Tigmamanukan, an omen bird, were later linked to evil or superstition under Christian influence. When the Spaniards arrived in the 16th century, they introduced Catholicism as a tool of control, replacing indigenous spirituality with Christian doctrine. And part of this process involved demonizing indigenous deities and spirits by equating them with the Christian concept of the devil. And then they labeled native shamans such as the Babaywelan, Mumbaki, the Catalonan. Ginawa silang mga witches, mga heretics to undermine their influence, yung bruha. Rebranding rituals as pagan or satanic to discourage Filipinos from practicing their ancestral beliefs, and they encourage fear-based conversion by associating non-Christian beliefs with hell, damnation, or misfortune, Ay, kaya ka binagyo kasi hindi ka nakikimisa. Uy, kaya walang tanim na tumutubo sa lupa mo kasi hindi ka nag-iimbita ng mga pare, Uy, minamalas ka kasi hindi ganon kalalim ang iyong pananampalataya, parang ganon. Through linguistic programming, words like Yawa, were reframed as insults or representations of absolute evil, reinforcing the idea that indigenous spirituality was inferior or dangerous. Teodoro Agoncillo, a renowned historian, said that Rizal's work wasn't just history, it was a political act. By recovering our lost past, Rizal wanted Filipinos to regain their dignity and believe in their ability to govern themselves, Now we go to the colonial era, a time of oppression and struggle. Let's fast forward to 333 years under Spanish rule. What did the Spaniards take away from us? For over 3 centuries, Spanish rule did not just impose foreign laws and customs. It systematically dismantled the very foundation of Filipino identity, leaving generations of our ancestors oppressed, exploited, and deprived of their rightful place in their own land. Ang unang kinuha ng mga Kastila, yung mga lupain natin, yung our lands. The most fertile lands did not belong to the Filipinos who tilled them. Instead, Spanish friars and colonial elites claimed ownership of vast tracts of agricultural land, forcing many Filipinos into a cycle of poverty and dependence. Farmers were required to pay rent for lands that had once belonged to their ancestors, and those who could not afford to do so were displaced. Pasinin nyo na lang po sa mga munisipyo ninyo nasaan yung mga simbahan. Isa pang example, no? Sa Pangasinan, the Dominican friars controlled large haciendas where local farmers were subjected to excessive taxes and forced labor. These lands, originally cultivated by generations of Filipinos, were taken under the pretense of religious authority, leaving many farmers landless and struggling to survive. The same situation was mirrored across the archipelago, with friars monopolizing lands in Cavite, Laguna, Batangas, and Negros, fueling resentment that would later ignite revolutionary movements. Ikaw ba naman, yung pamilya mo, may sinasaka kayo sa henerasyon, tapos biglang may mga darating na pare, uy, sabi ng Biblia, sabi ng Panginoon, amin tong lupan to, magbayad kayo sa amin ng tax. Diba? Di ka ba na mababad trip, no? Ano bang kinuha din ng mga Spaniards? Number 2, our education. Education was not a tool for empowerment under Spanish rule. It was a tool for control. Schools were established but only to serve the interests of the colonial government and the Catholic Church. The curriculum was heavily censored, with Filipinos taught to obey rather than to think critically. Subjects such as science, philosophy, and liberal arts were restricted, while religious instruction and Spanish supremacy were emphasized. Rizal himself experienced this firsthand at the University of Santo Tomas, where Filipino students were treated unfairly compared to their Spanish classmates. Even though he excelled in academics, he was often met with discrimination and ridicule. He saw how education was being used as means of oppression rather than liberation. This was why, noong siya ay na-exile sa Dapitan, he established his own school, one that would encourage free thought, scientific inquiry, and love for one's nation. Ano ba bang kinuha ng mga Spaniards sa atin? Dignidad. Our dignity. Perhaps the greatest thing the Spaniards stripped away from us was our dignity. Filipinos were treated as inferior beings, regarded as second-class citizens in their own homeland. They were called Indios, no? Maganda yung term na Indio no? Parang children of God, parang ganun, no? Pero parang sa kanila kasi, sa mga Espanyol, this term meant to degrade and dehumanize, no? So, yung mga ninuno natin, they were denied opportunities, disrespected in public spaces, and forced to bow before Spanish officials and friars. Yung mga kultura ng mga ninuno natin, no, nabilital, yung mga beliefs nila, no, sinabi na, uy, backward naman yan. At yung mga aspirations for self-governance, no, sabing dismiss as foolishness. Hindi no kaya. Yun ang sinabi sa atin, no. Rizal's own family suffered from this injustice, no. The Calamba land dispute saw the Rizal family, no, despite their status as educated na, no, at well-off, no, na-evict pa rin sila sa bahay nila, no, dahil sa greed ng mga Dominican friars, no. This event deeply impacted Rizal and fueled his resolve to fight for the rights of his people, no. And Rizal witnessed this injustice firsthand. The exploitation of Filipino farmers, the abuse of power by the friars, the lack of rights for his fellow countrymen, and of course the systemic erasure of Filipino identity. He saw how education was being weaponized to keep Filipinos ignorant, how justice was reserved for the privileged, and how his people suffered under an oppressive colonial system that stripped away the dignity. No? So ano ang ginawa ni Rizal? What did he do? May tatlo siyang ginawa. He wrote, he exposed the truth, and he awakened the Filipino spirit. No? He wrote, he wielded his pen as a weapon against tyranny. He crafted novels, essays, and letters that exposed the harsh realities of Spanish rule. His writings challenged the status quo and painted a vivid picture of the sufferings of the Filipino people. He exposed the truth. Through Noli Me Tangere and El Filibusterismo, he fearlessly unmasked the corruption of Spanish officials and the clergy, revealing the injustices that the Spaniards tried to conceal. His works reached far and wide, opening the eyes of Filipinos to the reality of their oppression and igniting the flames of revolution in the hearts of many. Last but not the least, he awakened the Filipino spirit. He reminded Filipinos of their once glorious past, showing them that they were not born to be slaves.
We will never be slaves!
But we're capable of greatness. He urged them to reclaim their identity, to seek knowledge as a path to freedom, and to fight for their rights. No? Not through violence, but through education, totoong unity, and national consciousness. No? But Rizal didn't just write about the past. He saw patterns of oppression that still exist today. No? So, if we are to ask ourselves, are we still experiencing colonial oppression? No? We need to ask ourselves, do the same families still hold power? No? Sa bayan ninyo, no? Pare-parehas bang pamilya ang tumatakbo tuwing election? Do some leaders rewrite history to benefit themselves? Binabago ba nila ang mga nangyari para magmukha silang mas mabango sa bagong henerasyon? Are we truly free? No? Totoo ba tayong malaya kapag yung mga leaders, no, they serve their own interests instead of the people, no? So, yun ang mga kailangan tanungin natin, no, sa mga sarili natin. The future, a vision of hope and liberation. Dr. Jose Rizal was more than a historian and a writer. He was a visionary. He did not simply document the past. He foresaw the future of the Philippines with remarkable accuracy. His essay, The Philippines a Century Hence, or Filipinas Dentro de 100 Años, no? It was written between 1889 and 1890. It was his attempt to analyze the fate of the country under Spanish rule and predict, no, what would happen in the next 100 years. So, may tatlong major predictions si Rizal, no? Number 1, if Filipinos remain passive, another foreign power would take over. Rizal warned that if Spain continued to oppress the Filipinos and they didn't take action, another colonial power might seize control of the country. Yun nga, was he right? Absolutely, no? Nagkaroon nga ng the Spanish-American War noong 1898 na nag-lead ito sa Treaty of Paris, where Spain ceded the Philippines to the United States for $20 million, no? And instead of achieving true independence after the defeat of Spain, the Philippines fell under American rule. And nonetheless, parang sabihin natin na nakinabang din naman tayo, no? Kahit papaano. The Americans introduced democratic institutions, no? Public education, infrastructure, but they also imposed their own cultural and political dominance. And some of the same colonial issues that existed under Spain, yung tinatawag natin mga land disputes, mga economic dependence, social inequality, it still persisted under the Americans, no? So parang we're in the same boat, no? We only have different masters. Yes, nag-improve, but it's still bad, no? Number 2, if Filipinos lack unity, the country would struggle with instability. Rizal emphasized that Filipinos needed to be united in order to achieve real progress. Without unity, division would weaken the country, making it vulnerable to both internal corruption and external manipulation. No? Was he right? Unfortunately, yes. Even today, political infighting, no, regionalism, functionalism continue to be major obstacle to national progress. The Philippines has seen repeated cycles of political instability, from the revolutions against Spain and the United States to the dictatorship under Ferdinand Marcos and the EDSA People Power movements. Ano? Itong nangyayari ngayon, no, sa uniteam ni Marcos at Duterte, no. Today, the country remains divided along political lines, with opposing functions often resorting to misinformation and propaganda rather than constructive debate. Third prediction ni Rizal: if Filipinos valued education, we could rise as a free and strong nation. Rizal believed that education was the foundation of national progress. He argued that an educated people would be capable of self-governance, economic prosperity, and cultural pride. Have we achieved this in some ways? Yes. No? The Philippines had made significant strides in education, with increased literacy rates and a broader access to schooling compared to Rizal's time. No? However, there are many challenges. No? Many public schools lack resources, and educational quality they would vary, no, across regions, no? And the rise of social media has also created new problems such as misinformation and, of course, historical revisionism, which threaten to distort the very knowledge that Rizal fought so hard to promote. No? So the question is, are we achieving Rizal's vision? No? While Rizal's prediction have largely come true, his vision for a strong, united, and well-educated Philippines is still a work in progress. Now, let's take a closer look at where we are today. No? Mga success natin, no? Education is more accessible. Unlike during the Spanish rule, education is now a right for every Filipino, with thousands of schools and universities across the country. And programs like K-12 aim to improve educational standards. Number 2, democratic elections exist. No? Filipinos now have the power to choose their leaders through regular elections. This is a very, very far cry from colonial times where only Spaniards and elites, no, sila lang ang may masasabi kung sino ang governance, sino ang mag-govern sa atin, no? Ano yung mga polisiya natin, no? And of course, youth activism is stronger than ever. The rise of social movements, nakita natin ito sa campaign ni na Leni at Kiko, no, at sa halalan 2022, no. It shows that young Filipinos are actively engaged in politics and governance, no. So alam niyo, minsan kasi parang tinitinan ko kayo, mga estudyante ko, no, kung kamusta ba kayo, kamusta ba yung social media ninyo. So nag-stalk ako sa inyo at sobrang natutuwa ako sa mga, sa mga politically aware sa inyo, no, sa mga ang laman ng mga social media nila is about politics. They talk, they share their views about policies, about laws, about what's happening in the country. And yeah, wow, believe ako sa inyo, no? So yun. And from climate change activism to anti-corruption protests, no, makita natin ang kabataan ay lumalakas, ang kabataan ay nagiging mas matapang, ang kabataan ay nagiging pag-asa talaga ng bayan, no? Very good, very good. Kaya lang ito nga, may mga challenges pa rin tayo. Sobra. First dito, political dynasties still dominate. There are many provinces, many towns. Wala tayong pumunta sa provinces at towns. Tignan nyo sa mga barangay ninyo, no? May mga barangay tayo, may mga lugar tayo na controlled pa rin ng mga political families, no? Na sila na nga yung may kapangyarihan noon, sila pa hanggang ngayon, no? So, it limit genuine democratic representation, no? Parang syempre mahirap naman pumili pag pare-parehas na lang taon-taon, no? Hindi na napapalitan mo, oh my god, no? So please lang. Number 2, corruption, rampant pa rin siya, no? Despite repeated calls for reform, government corruption continues to siphon resources away from essential services like healthcare and education, no? So sayang lang. Imagine yung mga bumabagsak ng mga tulay, bumabagsak ng mga buildings, kung sana napunta sa tamang sa tamang proyekto, edi mas marami pa sana tayo natulungan, no? And of course, fake news and misinformation, they spread rapidly. Many Filipinos, sobrang na-influensyan sila ng mga misleading propaganda, no? May nakita lang na post, naniwala na agad, no? And it making it difficult to have informed decisions on national issues, no? Nandito na yung issues ng ng chapter change, no, federalism, no, na kung ano-anong sinasabi na due process, illegal daw ang pagka-aresto sa isang dating presidente ng ICC, tapos kung ano-anong sinasabi nila dahil lang sa kung anong nabasa o napanood sa TikTok o sa Facebook. Alam mo yun? So, malaking problema yun. And of course, historical revisionism is also a growing concern. There are some groups, dinedistort nila yung facts tungkol sa martial law, about past administrations. May mga powers na nandyan na pinapalitan ng history din ng Pilipinas na, uy, ang Palawan daw ay dating kasapi ng China, etc. etc. No, this revision on history, kailangan maayos to, no? We need to less alam mo yun, tipong wala namang masama kung nag-Facebook ka, kung nag-TikTok ka or whatever. There are many content there na maganda, no? Pero marami ding namang content na basura din. So dapat siguro piliin natin kung ano ba yung pinapanood natin, no? Ano ba yung pinapakinggan natin. Of course, if you listen to garbage, you would only know garbage, no? Kilalanin naman natin ano ba yung sources, yung nagsasalita, ano ba yung sources, no? Based ba yan sa history, based ba yan sa primary sources, secondary sources, based ba yan sa books, no? So alam mo yan. So yun. Now, how can we continue Rizal's legacy, no? Kasi nga the youth is the hope of the nation. And Rizal had faith in young Filipinos, believing that they would be the ones to change the country for the better. But hope alone is not enough. Action is required, no? Number 1, we need to educate ourselves and others. Rizal believed that education was the key to freedom. We must take responsibility for seeking the truth. And we must question, challenge false information. And we must make informed decisions. Number 2, accountability. We must hold leaders accountable. Corruption and incompetence thrive when people remain silent. We must actively participate in governance. We must vote wisely. And we must demand transparency from those in power, no? We must also, third one, promote unity over division. Totoong unity. Hindi yung sabi-sabi lang pag-eleksyon, no? Rizal warned about the dangers of internal conflicts. Instead of fighting over political differences, Filipinos should work together toward a common goal, and that is national progress. Alam mo, pinaglalaban-laban lang naman nila tayo sa mga kulay-kulay, eh. Alam mo yun? Ang totoo kasi tatsulok dapat, di ba? Kasi pare-pares naman tayong mahirap eh. Bakit tayo nag-aaway? No? Di ba dapat tayo mga mahirap, nagsasama tayo laban sa mga mayaman? And fourth one, you must celebrate and preserve our culture. No? Instead of looking down on our own traditions and heritage, we should embrace and promote them. No? We must support local industries. We must learn about our indigenous communities, and we must preserve Filipino language. No? Kasi ang ganda ng lengguwahe ng Pilipino. No? And knowing, preserving our culture, no? Our language, no? Are ways to strengthen our national identity. Now, Rizal's dream for the Philippines was not meant to stay in books. It is a living vision that depends on us, our actions, our choices, and our commitment to a better future. Are we truly free? Are we truly educated? Are we truly united? If Rizal were alive today, what would he say about the state of our nation? Would he be proud, or would he urge us to do more? And the choice is ours. The choice is not whether Rizal was right. The question is, what will we do about it? No? We have seen that Rizal was not just a writer. He was a visionary. He was a warrior of ideas, a catalyst for change. But his work isn't finished. It is now our responsibility.
次は君だ。
So here's your challenge. You must vote wisely. Choose leaders who embody Rizal's ideas, not those who make empty promises. You must educate yourself. Rizal believed that knowledge was our strongest weapon. You must be proud of your Filipino identity. Support local industries, embrace our history, and fight misinformation. The future depends on what we do today. Let's make Rizal proud. Maraming salamat po.